Hey yo, what is up? Right, for those who are here because you're trying to decide if you want to buy this, yes, it's a great mouse if you're looking for a shape that's like a milder ergo shape. The coating is not as good as a Thorn, but it's still very good. The skates, they're straight up ass, and I don't know if you need a different dongle when they make 8K polling available. Also, some people, including reviewers, have experienced some QC issues, mostly related to mouse 2 grinding and squeaking. So yeah, you need to keep that in mind if this is going to be a concern to you. Some people even have their shells popping out when you squeeze the back of the mouse. So that's the TLDR. Okay, for the rest of you who want more details, you can keep watching. Now, before we kick off this review, I have 21 by 12 hands. I got pretty sweaty fingertips and a clammy palm. I have a very relaxed fingertip grip, and I apply very little pressure to the mouse when I'm using it in game. This is of course the Sprime PM1 119 with free shipping worldwide. It's 43 grams advertised, but if you actually weigh it out in stock configuration, it's about 45.5 grams, so about 2.5 grams off the stated weight or the advertised weight. It has a fiber composite material, but to be honest with you, it feels just like plastic to me. It is extremely light. You feel the difference even coming from a 55 gram mouse. You can feel this difference. It is pretty nice. It has an 8K, it's supposed to be 8K polling ready, but it is not ready. I don't even know if it's going to be the same dongle. If you take a look at the website, there's kind of like a picture of the mouse and a picture of this exact dongle that is shipped together with the mouse, and then in between you can see there is a indication of maximum latency of 0.125 milliseconds, which kind of alludes to this being an 8K signal, because a 0.125 millisecond latency is 8K polling, and it looks like the same mouse, but it is apparently not. So this is something that they need to fix, because their messaging is kind of confusing, and it's kind of rubbing people the wrong way. People feeling that they're kind of like being led into something that they're not 100% clear about. There's also a competitive mode, which I don't know anything what it really means, but if you check it off, competitive mode, I suppose it's going to eat up more battery because the signal is going to be stronger. Maybe it's something like a long distance mode where you enable it and you get better better latency, I suppose, but I'm not too sure, 100% sure about that. It is stated to have 80 hours of battery life, so I thought it was a 300 milliamp battery, but I think it's something like in all honesty, I think it's like 150 milliamp battery. I only got 55 hours out of it, and that's 3.5 days of 1K polling. These are Omron opticals, and this is what they sound like. They're pretty amazing. In fact, they're the best opticals out there, compared to a G Pro Superlight with whatever opticals these are. They are terrible compared to the Thorns are terrible compared to this. This is absolutely incredible. I think I might have another optical which is a different kind of optical, and this is from the Endgame Gear OP1WE. These opticals are not as satisfying as well, but these opticals, they're like almost like Huano blue shell pink dots. They're incredible. The best part about this mouse, it has a web-based memory manager, which means you don't have a user interface that is separate. You don't need to install anything, you don't need to have it running in the background. It's just web-based, and that's pretty good. And then it downloads into your mouse and it's saved there. So that's the best thing about this mouse. So let's talk about the battery life and cleanliness check. Like I was saying, the battery lasted 3.5 days on 1K polling, 10 plus hours a day. 3.5 days. I cannot imagine it lasting more than 1 day when you have to do 4K or 8K when it's ready to go. I just don't think that's going to happen. So this is quite concerning to me as a hardcore user. If you're a casual gamer, maybe this won't matter to you too much. On the hygiene side, it's holding up pretty good. There is a ring of dirt around the actuation where I rest my fingers. There is a ring of dirt around it after 11 days, maybe it's 12 days now, because this is a pretty white mouse compared to other white mouses. This is like Alpine white, if you're familiar with BMW colors. Very white mouse, very chalky coating. I think it's perfectly acceptable, the amount of dirt collected around it. The amount of smudges is not that great. For 11 days, 12 days not cleaning, I think it's pretty good. One easy wipe with a damp cloth will be good enough. I think that's great. Again, the shape and size, this is a mild ergonomic shape that's going to be universally acceptable, but unique enough to make it special. The width on the grip is about a millimeter wider than a G Pro Superlight. I think a G Pro Superlight is like 59. This you can see is 60, 61. I want to say 60, but you can get 61 out of it depending on how high on the grip you measure it. But so it is a slightly wider kind of sides. If you like, kind of that wider feeling. The M1 trigger is 23 millimeters where I rest my fingers, and on M2, because it's an ergo, it's 20 millimeters. Now on a G Pro Superlight, you're getting about 22, 23 millimeters. So this is an indication, or give you some kind of idea of what the actuation height actually is. You definitely feel the Sprime is shorter than the GPX, but the highest point of the mouse is only 1 millimeter lower than a G Pro Superlight. The build quality, I've had zero issues with the build quality, but like I mentioned earlier, I've seen some reviewers have QC issues ranging from a loose shell to grinding M1, M2 buttons. As for me, I am developing squeaky triggers. I have a squeaky trigger here, but yeah, there, you heard that? That happened once. So it doesn't happen all the time, but I can see it. There you go, it happened again. So it happens at a certain spot where I press it, and it's getting worse. Initially, I did not have this problem. It only started developing after about 8-9 days. And now it's happening more often, so I expect it to get a little bit worse. I did get some tips from Sprime on how to repair this myself, but I need to open it up, remove the feet, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to do that without damaging the plastic on the mouse or the clips or whatever. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but I might try and attempt it a bit later. The coating itself, like I mentioned earlier, it is not as great as a Thorn. I feel like if you're familiar with Thorn or Lamzu, maybe you will like it a bit better. But I'm not saying this is bad. This is very, very good. But if you're coming from a Thorn, you're probably going to say the Thorn is a bit nicer. It has a grippy coating, but it is not an aggressive grippy coating like an Endgame Gear or Thorn or even the what's that brand, the VXE. VXE has a more aggressive grippy thing. So that's what I got to say about the coating. Regarding the buttons, I mentioned best optical clicks, occasional M2 squeak, which I'm having, and then some people are complaining about the side buttons sinking in. As you can see on the back side of the back button, it kind of sinks in a little bit, but it doesn't go into the shell where it's going to get stuck or anything. For me, this is a non-issue. It's very comfortable. I roll my thumb over it and I can actuate it like that, no problem at all. For me, this is not an issue. I think for 99.9% of people, this is going to be a non-issue as well, so I don't think you should really worry about it. The next part is the skates. It wore out in 24 hours. You can see it really kind of sticky now. When I got it out of the box, this thing would spin twice before it got to a stop. 24 hours later, it only does one full circle. So for me, the skates are like 50% of the product. Now I know the enthusiast community will disagree because you probably change it out. You probably change it out a lot, but the enthusiast community is only like a small percentage of the overall market. Majority of your customers will never mod the mouse in any way, and because the skates are your first point of contact and is such a huge part of the visceral feedback you get from your experience with the mouse, the memory of the feeling you get from the mouse input is going to be permanently seared, I feel, into your memory of your experience. Now, I asked my viewers about skates and 55% of you said you never cared about skates or didn't even know it was a thing. Another 35% said you'd only swap out the skates if they were old or worn. So my point is, a huge number of your consumers are normal people and they just want the mouse to work perfectly without them having to tinker or make modifications. Now, in terms of performance, first up, I couldn't run the Sprime dongle simultaneously with a VGN dongle. It would stop the VXE mouse from working, but I could make it work with a Red Dragon 4K dongle. So I could run two 4K dongles, two dongles, these dongles at the same time. So I couldn't use the VXE together with the Sprime, but I could use the Red Dragon with the Sprime. So why would this matter to you? Maybe you have two mouses too, like me. Let's talk about the value. The value of the Sprime, it's in the uniqueness of the shape it presents. It is kind of like an ergo, but kind of mild. It doesn't have an aggressive hump that is going to hit up on your hand. It is kind of like if you have a small hand and you find that ergos are too big, this one is going to suit you really well. Now again, I got pretty big hands. I got 21 by 12 hands. For me, this is kind of like on a smaller side because I got a bigger hand, but I still really like this shape very much. I'm definitely going to be using this mouse a lot because this shape is very unique. It's like nothing out there, which what makes this really special. The other thing that makes this special is the clicks of the mouse 1 and mouse 2 when it's not squeaking. Obviously, when it's not squeaking, it is great. When it's squeaking, it's kind of annoying. Right now I can't get it to squeak, which is kind of like my problem right now. Sometimes it squeaks, sometimes it doesn't. I suspect it will get worse, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, and I will try to operate on it, do a MacGyver. They send me a picture where to sand it down, where to oil it, and I will attempt that pretty soon. But anyway, that is my conclusion of the Sprime PM1. I hope you enjoyed this video, took some useful information out of it, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.